We turn our attention back to the Middle East this morning, where the United States walked away again without securing a deal on Iran's nuclear program. And the president's clock is ticking here. He's already increased military presence and warships in the region. And while Oman's foreign minister, who mediated the talks, says there's been significant progress, specifics haven't been laid out just yet. Iranian state television also reports that Tehran is determined to continue enriching their uranium. So where does this leave us now? We're joined now by the senior director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Iran program, Behnam Ben Taleblu. Behnam, welcome back, as always, and thank you for your time.
Again. Thanks, Marky.
Let me start with two things that just broke here within the past couple hours. On Twitter, on X, I should say, you have the U.S. Embassy of Jerusalem that sent out this tweet saying that the Department of State authorized the departure of non-emergency U.S. government personnel and family members of U.S. government personnel from Mission Israel due to safety risks. You also have China that just advised its citizens to avoid traveling to Iran and urged those in the country to evacuate as soon as possible. I mean, Behnam, something seems like it's about to happen. This seems significant.
Indeed, we've been sliding towards a potential conflict now with the Islamic Republic for about 2 months now, but we hadn't seen the signs, the flares and lights and all the rest that we had seen in the run-up to the 12-day war in June up until right now. Yes, there was a hardening force presence in the region, but were there those civilian and commercial drawdowns that we had seen up until the 12-day war? That's why these two notices that you just read out, Marky, are so critical and such an important reminder that no matter the diplomacy that is going on or has gone on in Geneva and now soon to go on in Vienna, that both sides mean business and that the region and the world still believes we are on the precipice of yet another conflict in the Middle East.
And so yesterday we had the third round of failed talks. The fourth round is now getting kicked to Vienna next. How much closer did this just get us to said military action, you think?
Well, up until we had the descriptor for that fourth round be labeled as technical, I would have said purely failed. But it is odd to move from political talks that have failed to technical talks. It's hard to technically draw up the contours to something or provide details if there is no political understanding or framework. So while my guesstimate here still holds 20% chance of deal, 70% chance of strike, 10% chance of containment or stasis, the developments that you read this morning, plus the fact that talks are moving from political to technical, are major complicating factors.
And Trump said at the State of the Union that Iran has 10 to 15 days to make a meaningful deal. That clock runs out in early March. Do you take that deadline seriously? And when that clock runs out, is it time to make a move on our part?
More importantly, I think the Islamic Republic needs to be taking that clock seriously. I think if they replicate their diplomatic strategy against America in 2026 from that which they tried in 2025, the same thing will happen, which is that they will be subject to strikes again. Now, there's lots of questions and concerns over what kind of strikes. Is this a defanging mission? Is this a counterproliferation mission? Is this regime change? Is this paving the pathway for protesters? What kind of strike could it potentially be? But I do believe President Trump means business. And if past this prologue, those numbers, those drawdown dates are going to be very, very important. So if the regime is going to try to buy time, they should know that time is a weapon on President Trump's side.
You know, when the United States attacked Iran last year, it was last June, we were told that the United States obliterated those nuclear sites. Have they already started rebuilding? I guess what I'm getting at is what kind of intel is the United States working off of to make these decisions right now?
Well, assumedly, it's national technical means, so satellites and intercepts, the things that have made the U.S. an intelligence and really global superpower for quite some time now. The most important thing I would say, if one is looking to make sure the Islamic Republic of Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon, is to find a way to get the International Atomic Energy Agency back in there, and not to pay for that with sanctions relief, but to actually get that because that means that a country would be living up to its outstanding nuclear obligations. Now, you mentioned the strike, Operation Midnight Hammer, that did destroy 2 very active Iranian enrichment facilities, and that's why there is believed to be no ongoing enrichment in declared nuclear sites. The fear, however, is that would the regime move to undeclared enrichment facilities? That is one big question. And the second question is the regime isn't necessarily just rebuilding the same exact thing. It's hardening some of its facilities, particularly facilities that are associated with other elements of its nuclear program, like weaponization and like centrifuge manufacturing.
Yeah, and before these talks were even over yesterday, you had state media saying that Iran is determined to still continue enriching uranium. So I'm wondering at what point diplomacy works, if ever. Behnam Ben Taleblu, thank you for your expertise and your time as always, especially right before the weekend, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you.
We'll see you next week.